And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are on podcast number 79, an integrative approach to HR management. And this evening is actually March 17th. And we wanted to have this FB Live interview because, well, March 17 is actually, it reminds me of what we were doing 1 year before, okay, the pandemic, okay. Okay, so alam naman natin March 17th, there was a declaration of enhanced community quarantine. And well, we just wanted to have something for this day because we wanted to put in perspective, okay, what HR can do, okay, not only during a crisis, but how to help companies, okay, grow. Okay, so with with that in mind, okay, we invited a guest. Okay, so she's the first, okay, Filipino CPHR Global training partner, and she's also an executive coach and an HR consultant. We have with us Miss Vivian Cruz.
Hi, good evening. Nice of you to invite me once again. Good evening and good evening, everyone. So, hope you're having a good night. And yes, no, I remember it's been a year. So, it's been a year since we all locked down, no, and we're facing what we called the new temporary norm. So, hi, Tina. Good evening once again to you.
Yes, so Miss Vivian, I know you also have a busy schedule, but for the benefit of HRs, especially the young ones who are entering the workforce, okay, so we are going to talk about the integrative approach to HR. But my question is, okay, so kasi when the lockdown happened, the communities were all busy, okay? So why did the responsibility of gathering information, okay, for the lockdown, why did it become the responsibility of HR?
Okay, because the crisis is a pandemic one, no. So 'di ba pag when you talk about pandemic, it talks about health, no, and the primary consideration during that time is people, no. So I used to managing crisis in the organization, and part of the research study that I showed in there, no, is that the first step is to resolve the issue. What are the first and primary issues during that time? And during that time, it's the people's health, diba? Because they gonna be exposed if they go out. What are the proper PPE? We don't have vaccine yet. We don't know what the virus is all about. We don't know how we can get it. So that's the reason why it was attached to HR, because during that time the issue is how to take care of people. So it becomes the responsibility and accountability of HR, no, to make
Mm,
that your employees are healthy, and safe. So which is why, di ba, a lot of companies came up with different measures on how to make sure that their employees are protected during that time. In fact, even before the government issued with memorandum, di ba, because of the modified ECQ, a lot of companies already have prepared their offices, okay, in terms of work rotation. So they already have instituted that. So it becomes the primary responsibility of HR. But it's also attached, no, very related to our discussion tonight, because of the integrative approach to HR. Because when you talk about that experience of ours, a
mhm.
it talks about the role of HR, okay, the integration of the HR role and the all facets of the HR functions rolled into one, no? So, but during that time, we're not just HR. We're
Yes, we were wearing a lot of hats, okay? So
also,
we were gathering information, okay, that's number one. And then what else? We also, well, sorry for the ones who had were who have license, but also we were the confidant. Kasi I remember that people were very stressed, and they were worrying for their families. So
diba?
like I know that there are some professionals here. Their families are not even here in Metro Manila, are in the provinces. So that was their primary concern. And pupunta sila sa HR just to tell them that I'm worried about my mom has these symptoms, and then how do we know that it's COVID, etc., etc.
Yes.
So yun yung naging role. We were so many roles, so many so many hats. Okay, so
Yeah,
it
we
was that.
became the safety champions, diba? In terms of making sure that our employees observe the health protocols when they go to the office, when they go out. We became health advocates, no? We became the company, I don't want to call it nurse because we're not nurse, but we became the company clinics representative.
Yes.
Out literatures, di ba? We became a government liaison because we bridge employees in terms of what are the benefits that they can avail from the government. And we even facilitate, di ba? Because during that time, we know that our employees cannot do it on their own because they are attending to other needs, no? Sabi mo nga, not just their own needs, but the needs of their family. So we also facilitate all of those facets, no? So we became visible, and we became more visible, no? We became more proactive, reactive in our approach, no? Reactive in a good way because during that time we need to act fast, diba? So every day it's a new challenge for us because sabi ko nga, diba, technically or literally speaking, we are in a VUCA world, no? So
Mhm.
don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what the news of the government would be, di ba? Kwentuhan nga natin, every 15th and end of the month, naghihintay tayo ng Malacanang update in terms of what will happen on the 16th and then of the end of the month. And at the same time, we became the the close ally or the close aid of our CEOs because we need to provide them our insights based on the advisory coming from the government on what would be the best option to take by our to take as far as our employees are concerned, di ba? Then when it I will not say stabilizes, no, because we're still in crisis. I think that's something that our fellow HR practitioners and even employees should still remember we're still on pandemic, no? There's still COVID. So, but if you notice when we stabilize a bit in terms of how we manage our people, when we already have developed the routine, no, then HR again plays a very important role in making sure, no, that in terms of organization performance, we work with our business leaders in reviewing what can we still achieve by end of the year and what we cannot achieve anymore, and um review it, no, and come up with a new target for the organization. So naging evolving, no, yung role natin during the last 1 year, and it happened so fast. It's been a year already for us.
Well, it is a year already. So right now, okay, what HR Shouts is doing, we're just reviewing, okay, because I know that it happened so fast last March 17. And what I was saying is, well, since we're taking maybe a part two, maybe we can think about what we could have done better at that time.
Yes.
Because syempre, there's like always room for improvement nga naman, di ba? So I'll just ask this question. So that was how our roles have evolved. So would you say, Miss Vivian, that kasi VUCA, okay, the VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Okay, so ang ano natin, kasi so there's this upsurge of professionals, upskilling. Okay, so this came from a batch of professionals, HR professionals who are specialists Kasi parang nangyari, I think early 2000, may mga generalist. And
Yes.
then later, okay, mid 2000, mga 2005, 2008, may upsurge ng mga specialists, okay? And then when the pandemic happened, because papunta na sa specialization, parang they were caught flat-footed kasi wala silang skills ng generalists. Do you concur with that observation?
Yes, but it's positive in a way, no? Because I think one thing that I've seen in the behavior of the HR professionals, and I think it is embedded in our profession, regardless whether we're generalists or specialists, is our capability to adapt immediately to
Mm.
any circumstance, no? So the recruitment specialists automatically, 'di ba, became employee engagement officers because of their competencies, 'di ba, to speak, to reach out, and to explain properly where the company is coming from. So the shift in terms of the role of the HR specialist as well, there may be some hiccups because there's some technicalities that we need to know in HR. It's given, no? But
Mm.
overall, no, you could see that HR professionals as a whole, no, are very flexible and adaptable, no? So we are very adapted. It's just really a matter of knowing, I will not say basic, but knowing the fundamentals and the HR framework. And from there, no, you can already start working on it, and you would see that if you broaden your horizon in HR, expand the way you think about your role, you will be able to easily transition from one role to another in HR. No, so and I think that's one of the beauty that this pandemic gave us, if there is a blessing, no? Kasi I always look into opportunity in times of challenges, no? Otherwise, we will be very negative in the way we see things. So you could see the behavior of the HR professionals very adaptive, no? And I'm proud of this profession because we really sabi ko nga, 'di ba, we could have not survived this if the HR professionals are not able to shift immediately their role, their corporate hats, no? And do what they think would be best for the organization, no? So right now, this is now the time for us, no? Since we already have given the opportunity to transition into various roles. So I think our topic for tonight is very timely because it's now about how to encapsulate all of this, no, and embrace the change that has happened into our role.
So, Miss Vivian, before I go into more specific questions, okay, I think you prepared an overview of the integrative approach of HR management. So, I'll give the floor to you in the meantime.
Okay, so let me just share with you my simple deck, no, that I prepared. Okay, and let me just share with you, no. Okay. Okay, so for tonight, we will be discussing an integrative approach to HR management. So I just would like us to start with, what do we mean by HR management? So what is it about HR? What is HR all about? And if we ask these questions to different HR professionals, the first things that would come into their mind would be different or based on their field of specialization or the main driver of their own business. No? So you can talk about HR compliance, engaging employees, getting the right people, talent development, employee relations, no? But in my years of experience in the HR practice, no, there's one word that can best describe HR management. And I just coined it, and we'll be sharing it to you because this is how I approach HR management as a function, as an integrative function. And that's what we call employee experience. No? So employee experience, we've been hearing this for a couple of years already, probably a year or two, no? But what does this mean? What does employee experience mean to us? That HR professionals need to focus on this if we would like to be integrative in terms of our approach in HR management. So employee experience talks about how our employees see us, how they feel and they experience working with our organization. So do they feel good working for us? Do they see that their leaders are walking the talk? Is our culture fit to what how they see or envision themselves, no, as a professional. So we need to sum it up, and we need to understand, no, how they see us, feel, and how what are their experiences working with our organization. And there are three areas that I would like to focus on when we talk about employee experience. First is the culture. Okay, what is our DNA? What are the values? How do we do things? So these are things that matters to our employees now when we are trying to drive employee experience. Second is, what are the tools that are available to our employees so that, it would be easy for them to get things done. They would be productive. So if you notice, a lot of company are investing in systems, mga Six Sigma, continuous improvement tool, no? So that their employee would be able to manage the resources well and efficiently. And then, of course, is the environment. This is the work environment, the physical facility, no, the available to our employees. So if we are work from home, okay, what kind of environment are we trying to build, no, so that our employees would be able to adjust and to adapt. So by creating a positive employee experience, no, research has shown that, okay, the chance of organization success is higher. Okay, but how do we develop positive employee experience? How to achieve that? How do we make sure, no, that in every facet of HR is we will be achieving a positive employee experience? No, while I am in full respect of the HR functions in the different facet of HR, like recruitment, training and development, labor relations, employee engagement, and others, no, I would like to look at HR in an integrative approach as well, because I do believe, though, that one is interlinked with one another. So which is why I would like to share with you the 8 R's of HR. For me, in creating a positive employee experience, let us look into 8 R's, no, in the organization and see how we can improve it. And when you see it, no, when you look at the 8 R's of HR, okay, you would see that it's also linked with other. So when we talk about recruitment in the succeeding discussion that I will be having with you would see that recruitment also encompasses other facets of HR that are related to provide, no, successful candidate experience. So when we talk about 8 R's of HR, I would like to discuss about recruitment, the routing, retention, resonating, reviewing, rewarding, retooling, and recycling. So when we talk about recruitment, we all know it. It's about acquiring and bringing in the right talent for the organization. But actually, the first step of creating a wonderful employee experience is creating a candidate experience. So there has been a shift, no, and trend in terms of how we manage candidate. So in the past, we're always used to, don't call us, we'll call you, no. But if you notice, no, good companies or great companies who are very focused on creating a positive candidate experience is very focus in terms of what the candidate feels or how the candidate feels after going through the selection process. So now it's the recruiting team or the talent acquisition team takes an extra effort in talking to the candidates, letting them know what had happened to their application, what are the areas that they need to improve, no, so that they would suit into the company's culture or company's requirement. So in this particular exercise, you would see that candidate experience talks also about career coaching, career development, and career pathing. Okay, and then of course, routing is about mobility. So this is about our capability to move around our people, developing our people to be versatile and flexible. And when we talk about routing, we're talking about career development, career pathing, and mobility. In some perspective, routing also talks about rewards and recognition. Then when we talk about retaining, it's about how do we retain our employees, no? So when we try to retain our employees or come up with our retention strategy, okay, it encompasses different facets of HR. It talks about employee engagement, rewards and recognition, career development, talent management, no? So everything that would encompasses and would play a significant role, no, in terms of retaining our talents. And then of course, resonating is culture. Okay, this is how we do things in the organization. And if you look at the resonating part or the culture, you have to look into our corporate values. Our employees embedding the corporate values of the organization? So we should also look into the way we work, the leadership style of our leaders, diversity and inclusion, and performance and development of our people. No? Then, of course, we cannot take out reviewing the organization and employee performance when we talk about reviewing. And when we talk about rewarding, it's about how we compensate our people. So, what are the rewards and recognition in place? How do we move around our people? What are the career pathing strategies we have? How do we develop the career of our employees? No, very much needed right now is the retooling part. So this is about making sure that we are equipping and re-equipping our employees. No, in fact, when you talk about retooling, the first step is actually the onboarding. Onboarding is part of talent development as well, but it is also attached to recruitment. So these are integration of two functions, if you notice it, because it talks about employee development, organization and talent performance, and career pathing. And then, important right now is recycling. It's giving employees opportunity to change their job, their careers, no, so that they would be adaptive, flexible, and they would fit the new needs of the business. So when you talk about recycling, there are certain facets of HR that we need to understand: career pathing, recruitment, retooling, and routing. So when we talk about 8 R's of HR, one thing that I like in here is that when we talk about integrative approach, we're not just talking about one field of specialization. So if you notice, when we talk about 1 R like recruitment, it's not just about recruiting. It's not just about the recruitment function, but recruitment also encompasses rewards and recognition, because the recruiters need to understand how do we pay our employees. We need to understand how we develop our employees. Okay, the recruitment team is now considered as career coaches as well. Okay, talking to talents and making them understand how they would fit into the organization. So what I would like to highlight here is the integrative approach in terms of HR management is a mindset. Mindset, because whenever we talk about certain activity in HR, what we need to consider is that what other R's of HR should I use to be able to be successful in a particular endeavor, in a particular strategy, or in a particular approach that I would like to introduce to our organization. And the examples that I highlighted a while ago, okay, are some of the examples or key things that you need to look into when you look into a particular R in the 8 R's of HR. So just like I just would like to highlight, for example, when you talk about recycling, you need to understand, okay, you need to understand the rewards and recognition, the retooling part, no, the retaining part, the culture of the company or the resonating part, and the reviewing, because you need to understand what is the organization performance target so that you can link the talents and prepare them for the new role. So when you look into one area, okay, it would affect the way you think at the other facets of the HR function. So now when you talk about rewards and recognition, don't just look into rewards and recognition. Tie it up with your routing strategy, tie it up with your retention strategy, tie it up with your retooling strategy, tie it up with your recycling strategy. So that's how to approach it, no, in essence, no, as it, and it may be very generic, but when you try to look into the concept, no, and try to look into, no, you would realize, oo nga, no, when we talk about retaining pala, it talks about so many areas in the HR facet. So it should not just be about employee engagement. It should not just be about rewards and recognitions. It's about how all of these facets of HR will be working together, okay? How you would be integrating the policies and making sure that one is not contradicting to another, no? So that you would be able to come up with the right approach, no? And would be able to ensure organization success. Okay, so I hope I was able to share with you in a very condensed condensed discussion in terms of how to come up with an integrative approach to HR. I will give the floor to Chris so that if there are questions, now we can focus more on the conversation, how it applies, no, rather than to focus on the conceptual framework, because I know a lot of the people in the room are already expert in the HR function. They are mostly specialists. And so now it's time for us to integrate all field of specialization together, no, and come up with an integrative approach to achieve organization success. Chris?
Yes. So thank you, Miss Vivian. Okay, so that was a very concise, okay, and very informative summary of the functions of HR. And here is the question, because a lot of HR professionals, they're swamped with all this jargon. Okay, so what can you say when you say HR framework? Okay, like MBO,
Yeah.
balance scorecard, total reward strategy. Okay, so can we explain, okay, what are the perspectives of this tree? Okay, like MBO, what are you looking at when you say let's do MBO?
Yeah. So when we talk about management by objectives, no, we're talking here about organizational performance. So it's tied up with performance management. And as I always drive it in my conversations, in all of the training I run, no, what would set you apart is that when you are capable of linking individual performance to organization performance and vice versa. So how to go about MBO is you're talking about the objective of the organization. And when you set up the objective of the organization, of course, we're familiar with the SMART concept, the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bounded. No, we try to highlight, no, what are the results that I would be expecting, or what are the things that I need to do to carry out, no, or to be able to meet my objectives. So from the higher level, so normally MBOs are top-down approach. It can also be bottom-up. I'm just saying that the common norm is to make top-down approach. So the executive team would be discussing these are objectives, no, and these are the expected results from the different business units, and it would be cascaded down, no, to the different functions, and they themselves will now be working as a team, no, to understand what would be the target for the year that they need to work and focus on. Actually, if you're familiar now with the OKRs concept, it's mostly similar, because OKR, it's objective and key results. So OKR also start with the objectives and try to come up with the key results that would make you connect, no, and would say yes, we were able to achieve our objective. So but again, I just would like to highlight that the important factor that we need to consider here, no, when we talk about MBO is what is our organization performance and how the success looks like, so that we would be able to come up with the right approach, no, and then now when you coin the objectives, no, so now here comes the different HR strategies that you need to um, filter or incorporate, no, in terms of how you do things. So yeah, so that's MBO. Yeah.
You know, so it's important kasi like the the managers and top management, okay,
Yeah.
should be able to define, okay, what how do we define success? Kasi kung hindi natin alam yon, then it's hard for everyone to follow, di ba? Kasi wala tayong target, di ba? Wala tayong roadmap, okay, kung saan tayo papunta. So, yun lang naman ang MBO, and that's the reason why the organization defines objectives, and then all the departments, diba, they also define their objectives, and then it trickles down to the performance of the employee, yung mga KPIs nila. So
Yeah.
kaya tayo may ganon. So that is important because we want to measure performance.
Correct. Yeah.
And if we pass
Also,
performance, okay, that's an indication that we're meeting the target. Ganun lang yun.
correct, correct. It's also the same with balance scorecard, di ba? So
Mm.
it's um tool, no, to measure performance. So in balance scorecard naman, we're talking here about the customer or the market, the financial indicators, no. So this talks about the bottom line, what we try to achieve, and then we also talk about operational efficiency and the development of people. So if you notice in the balance scorecard concept, no, they mention about the four key components, the four key to organization success, and one of those is people development. So which is why they really value, no, the importance of developing your people because they are the one accelerating, okay, the efficiency, the achievement of targets, and the increase in terms of the customer share or customer relationship. So both, no, both are different approach in terms of setting up organization performance. But if you notice the two, when we talk about framework, no, it's
Mhm.
organization performance and individual performance and how it can be linked together through a specific tool, no, or measurement. So yeah, so that's the concept. When I say framework, that's kind of like the framework that we're seeing, because of course, as you know it in HR and even in organization development, diba, there are trends that are coming, no, but framework is the fundamentals, and this is organization performance must be linked to individual performance when setting the target. When measuring or reviewing the performance, the individual performance, when we add it together, should lead to the organization
Yes.
performance, di ba? So if you rated all of your people exceptionally good and the business didn't do well, there's something wrong. There's no connection. There's no link.
Yes. Parang ano, parang ibig sabihin, ano, somewhere along the way may ano
Hidden.
may problema sa process kasi the yung sinasabi ni Miss Vivian is kung lahat kayo excellent, then based on sabihin na natin balance scorecard, then the financial is also
Yeah, dapat it should also indicate in your financial performance.
on.
Then we have to review there's something wrong, di ba? So in the end, it still talks about organization success because sabi mo nga, past year, this year is a new beginning, then we need to learn from the lessons of the past, di ba? So that's how it works. So we have to ensure, no, yung continuous improvement even in the way we manage the HR practice or the HR function.
Yeah. So going back to your 8 hours of HR management, Miss Vivian, there is a question here. What if I fail in one of the R's HR?
Aha. Actually, there's no such thing as failure. It probably is we are not yet focused, no? Because as I always says it, we cannot be everywhere, no? There's certain focus or there's certain R of HR that we need to focus based on the business circumstance, based on the environment. So for example, di ba, during the time of pandemic, we did not focus on recruiting. We did not focus. Our focus is really more about recycling. What can our people do, di ba?
Hmm.
Working
Can we
from
save them?
they do, di ba? So then, sabi natin, how can I recycle if they're not equipped? Then we focus on retooling, no? So that's how to approach it. But it does not necessarily mean that we have to do everything at the same time. It's a matter of priority. It's a matter of what the business needs. No, I always kept saying the business needs because in HR, that's where we need to focus. No, we need to understand what is needed by the business during the time so that we can gauge, no, which would be our priority. And then if we say our priority for this a particular year, no, is on rewards and recognition, then we need to take note that when we talk about rewards, it's not just about rewarding or salary increase, di ba? It's
Mhm.
about how to recognize good performance. It also talks about how to measure performance, di ba? It also talks about how to prepare, okay, the high performers to new career. So which is when you talk about succession planning, so it's about retooling and recycling and routing. So yun yung kailangan nating i-work on, no? But hindi naman kailangan lahat gawin natin because mahirap din naman yung here, there, and everywhere. Di ba?
Kasi depende yun. Kasi like during crisis, okay, as with the situation, you can only focus on a few.
Yes.
Kasi if you focus on a lot, then yun nga, magiging kalat ka. And chances are, hindi mo rin magpanan or you cannot serve yung pag yung function of, saving the company. Kasi iba yung nasa sa mode ka ng emergency, iba yung during times na
Correct.
abundant times, okay, iba yung situation doon. So, yung plans mo as an HR head okay, or HR leader of the company, it has to be in sync with the plans of the business leaders of your company.
Yes, it cannot be we are an island of our own, no? So it has to be integrated in terms of the business strategy as well. So which is why the good thing sana to happen, no, is that the business strategy will come in first. And then after the business strategy, we now form our HR strategy based on the 8 R's of HR so we can develop focus. Because parang nagkakaroon tayo ng 2020 vision in terms of what would be our priority, no? And we will be able to clearly outline what is needed by the business. Again, another one that I would like to share, Chris, no, is that
Mm.
um, a lot of companies right now, di ba, have different business units. We have sales and marketing, we have operations, and then we have the corporate support group, no? So before in HR, we are used to the one size fits all concept.
Yes.
Di ba? Yung parang, okay, ito ang training nating lahat. Lahat kayo, ito yung attend nating training, problem solving, etc., etc., no? So, part of the trust right now in HR, and it's still part of an integrative approach, no? Is trying to understand what are the core needs, no? When I say core needs, these are the needs of the business applicable to all business units. In those particular needs, no, we need to come up with a uniform approach because the needs are the same. But we also need to take into account the specific business unit or the specific division needs. And sometimes that's where the focus shifts. Merong mga business unit, Chris, na mas focus dapat sila on rewards and recognitions because they are into sales and marketing, and then yung kanilang bonus or incentive scheme na pag-iwanan ng panahon, no? But when you talk about operations, iba naman yung kanilang focus. Ang focus naman nila is about operational efficiency. So magiging iba-iba yung approach natin. So one thing, and it's not being hindi integrative, but it's being integrative in terms of our approach, is trying to come up with what is common in all of our businesses, and we need to come up with this HR strategy to support that. But we also need to have a lens on what are the peculiarities of each of the division and department, so that again, no, we would be able to achieve what we call employee experience, di ba? Because employee experience is what the employees see in the organization, how they feel, and how is it working with the organization, no? Ngayon ang mga employees natin appreciates the differentiation. So in the past, di ba, pag naiba sila, iba tayo, discrimination. Kaya equal lahat, no? Ngayon, it's not equal, it's equitable. So because it's now based on our priorities and it's based on what we need, no, during that moment. So ngayon, common for us is the vaccine. So
Mm.
everyone, di ba, is into vaccine. Pero vaccine lang ba? So we have to look into it, no? And then isa ring approach na ginagawa ko to make it integrative is, for example, Chris is my business leader in sales, no? And
Mm.
Chris would tell me, Vian, kasi we have to look into improvement in the sales process. I want to
Mm.
introduce Six Sigma, for example, or lean management. Okay, probably my manufacturing plant is not yet requesting for it, no? But one thing we're doing is we are also trying to understand, is this a forthcoming need of my manufacturing team? Need na ba talaga nila ngayon, or baka hindi pa yun yung priority nila? Pag hindi pa yun yung priority nila, we try to understand as much as possible when we talk about lean in one business unit. And then whatever learning we have, the experiences, when the other division is now ready to implement it, no, we tap the experts that we have developed in another function. Okay, the beauty of it's not just to save on cost, but nasa ating kasing mga employees yung business process expertise. And those are very important, no, when you are trying to transfer technology and knowledge. So which is why even though you address their needs, no, per function or per division, let's try to make sure, no, that we I don't want to use the word document, but we retain the knowledge and the skills so that we can pass it on to the other divisions when they need it, no? Or sometimes we use it to sell the idea, di ba, Chris, na you may want to look into this because HR, we are also consultants.
Yes.
Consultants, di ba? So we can introduce the concept and we can tell our client, tell our stakeholders that, hey, you know what? Chris and I implemented this in sales, no? So you may want to check Chris experience. And then now the collaboration would come in, no? And you would see na, oh, lahat na pala tayo ngayon gumagamit nito. So you are now creating a common tool rather than every department or division have their own different tools.
Yes.
'Di ba merong era na gano'n, Chris, 'di ba kanya-kanyang tool. So ngayon, the integrative approach, no, it's also about coming up with common tool so that everyone would be talking in the same language, in the same business terminology.
Yes. Yung ginagawa kasi, 'di ba, yung some companies, I don't know if you've noticed with some companies, that's why everything is documented.
Mm.
So in processes, okay, the case studies or cases are documented, especially the success cases, kasi they're documenting it. In past company, a Japanese company, meron kami yung integrated management database, okay. So we actually parang what we did, the processes have been spelled out, okay, and it's part of that database so that every once in a while we go back to how the process was implemented, and then in every year, okay, there's always a discussion on how to make things more efficient.
Yes, yes. And at the same time, no, even when you have problems, di
Of
ba,
course.
that we encounter, document, and then let's document what are the solutions, and then store it, no, or keep it or safe keep it so that if the same problem occurs or similar, we can just pull it out, no? Kaya nauso yung A3 problem solving documentation. So it's A3 because it was placed in the A3, Chris,
Hmm.
eh. A snapshot, you already see what is the problem, the what is the, if the RCA tool that they use, no, what are the options. So para lang then there's point of reference because remember, 'di ba, parang in even in data analytics, no, we look at historical data. Okay?
Yes.
But in the past, we look at historical data and we average it. Now, it doesn't work that way. We look at the historical data and we are trying to see the trend and the pattern. So that's now the use of data when we do the data analytics. No? And that's also true for HR. When we look into the HR data, look at the patterns and trends and it will tell us something. Diba? So
Yes.
yan yung siguro yung mga yung mga additional value, no, of the information available to us at this time.
And well, just to answer a question, okay. So for those who actually were late, okay. So what you can do actually after this FB Live, we are actually creating our own no, integrated information database. Okay, so just subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you can actually view the past episodes of our FB Lives. Okay, so hindi na po kami namimigay ng PowerPoint presentation because we're actually integrating everything into our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yes.
So
The YouTube channel is HR Shouts and Whispers.
thank
Ayan.
you, Miss Vivian. Kasi alam mo, that's why we actually, this one is actually a very, we're not saying this because we wanted the pandemic to happen, but actually we're documenting everything and every conversation with HR experts. Kasi we never know. Okay, we can go back to it. Okay, baka meron tayong makuhang idea that we can use in our offices.
And I was also, no, the sharing kasi of experiences plays a key role, no, in terms of learning and acquiring new skill and technique. And if you go through, no, para itong library, di ba, Chris, if you can go through the past episodes,
Yes.
able to come up like, parang ito yung kapareho namin ng scenario, no? And you
Mm.
would be able to understand or digest, no? What is it that you think would be best for the organization, di ba? So, kaya nga, di ba, in my conversation, I always tell HR practitioners, no, it's always good to benchmark, to know what the industry trend is, but you always need to understand how it would fit into your organization. So gone are the days, sorry to say the word, of the copy paste setup. Okay, we now need to understand, okay, yes, this is the trend, but is this is this gonna work to our business? How can I make this work in our business? No, because right now in the pandemic, resource is limited. Resource
Yeah.
is always limited. It's always limited, but the more that is, it's scarce now, di ba? Hindi
Mhm.
scarce na. So we need to make sure that all the tools that we use, all the strategies, okay, that we implement are really worth it and tied up with organization success, no? So hindi na tayo pwedeng mag-laundry list at this time. We cannot afford, no? Even huge businesses, even big corporations really now try to trim, no? Trim down and understand what are the priority and focus on those priorities. And the approach cannot be specialized at this time. We have to take into account, no, that even though it's a talent development project, it has to be tied up with the other R's of HR that you think are applicable, so that when you implement it, no, it would be affecting the employee experience. So the experience would always be positive. Kasi if cost if sales and marketing now have net promoter score, 'di ba? We also have
Mhm.
promoter score in the form of employee engagement survey, no? And wherein people are now talking about employee experience when they talk about engagement, no? So but it's not just engagement. It's the experience the employee feel while working with the company, no? And if you look at the culture, the tools and the environment, it encompasses, no, the 8 R's of HR, because these are all integrated and interlinked with one another.
So, Miss Vivian, ang question ngayon is, yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned about recycling, okay? Because what happened was scarce resources and maybe a looming threat of company closure forced HRs to look for jobs that can be done, okay, other than the present job. Ang question ngayon is this employee experience, okay, positive employee experience, okay, I'm sorry for the question. It might be basic, but is it still possible even if like we are, in a very, very parang in where when we are in crisis mode?
Mhm. Yes, actually, no. In the past, we always associate employee experience with employee activities and
Mm,
engagement. Diba? So during the pandemic, employee experience is all about how we make our employees feel that they are being taken care of by the company. And right now, no, our employees do not compare us with others.
mm,
Before pandemic, employees love to compare us to our competitors and love to find what the competitor is giving and we are not. Right now, what I observe, no, is that employees are very they reciprocate the company. So employee experience now is about how we are able to take care of employees. Okay? So sabi ko nga, immediate is health and welfare, right? Kasi
yes.
how can they work, how can they be safe, how can they be secured. If you notice, now we are gearing towards recycling. So
Mm,
we're now trying to understand, no, di ba ngayon before we hire, we try to look first carefully, no, okay, who are internal talents. And in fact, in the past, we do internal talent movement, we do internal recruitment. Pero di ba before, you really need to fit into the job or you meet the minimum requirements. Pero ngayon, when we talk about recycling, we're trying to understand if the employee is motivated or is willing to shift. And even though he doesn't understand yet the full scope of the job or he doesn't have yet the skills, the competencies to do the job, we retool them. We
yes.
prepare them, di ba? We prepare them, we retool them. We retool them so that we can recycle them. And di ba? And then when we are successful, if they are successful in their career shift journey, no, we reward them. So now it's the time for us, no, to focus on recycling and retooling, ne? And then probably after 6 months or after another year, Chris, it will now be a different focus naman, no? And it's because
Yes.
nag-e-evolve din tayo, no, as we go through the phase, no? Okay, because again, we are adapting, eh. We are flexible and we are adapting, no? So probably it would just be good to share, no? Important right now is to determine the competencies of each of the function that we have in the organization. And on the organization design component of it, try to understand how we can make the recycling as seamless as possible so that you can do it faster, no? Okay, trying to understand the common competencies and building a career ladder for people or for our talents to do the shift. So yeah. So now it's the time for us to focus on that direction. And when you talk about recycling, it's not just about the career shift. It has a lot of component that we need to that needs to be part of this puzzle, no? So that we
So
can come up with the best approach.
so you're going to now, parang in GIS, it's going to be like a career shift, but it's internal.
Yes, it's internal now, no? Hindi katulad before na, Chris, gusto ko na sa finance, ayoko na sa HR, but my company will not, give me opportunity. So I will look for the opportunity outside, no? So now,
Mm.
ganon, it's really about how we do things. And even the marketability of the talent now, no? It will now be based on their capability to be agile and resilient. So it's not anymore about the specialization. Probably it will still be, but there will be now blend of capability to transition to other roles. Diba? So that's now how what would be the parang in terms of the talent profile. I think that would be that can be evidently seen, no, in the next few months.
And that's like a good start. I mean, if it's a good restart, because we know that this problem, we don't know how long this will happen, but at least there's a plan. Okay, I think it's a plan for the next year, okay, and I think it's workable kasi a lot of people have been wondering, oh, ito na yung nangyari, so what's going to happen to us? And I think for non-HR professionals also, it's important also to watch this kind of discussion kasi I think they should also open their mind to career shift internally kasi that it's still better for me if that was offered by the HR of the company to me. I think it would be a relief kasi it's still within the company and I don't have to forgo my na-regular ka na eh. So I won't be starting from square one. I think that would be a good move by HR during this time.
Actually, I was telling some HR HR professionals, no. So the role will be changing.
Mm.
You will now be career coaches.
Yes. Oh, there's another hat added to your multiple hats, okay?
They're asking me, so how would I use my field of specialization? Sabi ko, if you know what, sabi ko, regardless of your field of specialization in HR, when you do career coaching, it will encompasses all, no? So
Mm-mm.
even your perspective will also be broadened. It will also change, no, the way you see things, no? So so if you look into recycling, you talk about retooling because you also need to prepare your leaders for the recycling process, di ba?
Oo.
We cannot
Kasi
just
hand in hand yan.
yes, it has to be, tama ka, it has to be carefully and properly planned, no? Kaya parang hindi tayo pwedeng, come up with policies very specific without trying to look into the other facets or to the other R's. So it has to be overarching always. Well, one will just be higher in terms of focus, no, or priority, but we should be able to come up with an integrative approach. Kaya I always look at the 8R so that it would be a lot easy for me to look into, like when you recruit, what are the other components that you need to factor in recruiting. Kasi when you talk about the function with due respect, it's very parang yung konsepto, ikaw na mismo nililimit mo na agad yung
Mm.
sarili sa konsepto, no? So sometimes kasi it's the mindset, no, the way it was presented. So nagiging very recruitment focus. No? So kaya right now, even in terms of policy, it should also encompasses the other facets that you think would be affected, no? When we implement policy, when we implement a new guidelines, a new mechanics. Maganda din nun is naiwasan din natin na they are conflicting or contradicting with one another. So may harmony and it would be a lot easy, di ba, to achieve yung organization culture that we want to build, no?
So with this one, okay, so ang question ngayon is so we actually with recruit the R's, okay. So performance appraisal actually should not be forgotten kasi this will be actually your documentation tool for well, of course, how well if people are still doing their jobs, okay, if they're meeting still the standard. Kasi madami nagsabi wag na mag-performance appraisal.
Actually, uh, actually, ang nakikita ko diyan ngayon is that, di ba before we're used to that by semi-annual review, di ba?
Yes, yes.
That's the formal process. There should still be review of performance. Ang nakikita ko lang ngayon na trend, it's more informal. So there's
Mhm.
feedback happening, performance feedback happening compared to the, the formal review process. So even though you don't have a formal review process, kasi nga parang napakabilis ng mga pangyayari, no, and organization is still in the process of firming up their plans, do not overlook the informal review process or the feedbacking, because that's what is important, so that you can always align, 'di ba? You can always align. Kaya nga 'di ba sabi natin, paano pag nabago na yung target ng organization, di we review all the plans again and then we come up with the new plan, di ba? Okay, so that's why the feedback process should not be forgotten, no, whether formal or informal. Kung hindi pa kaya mag-formal, because sometimes no organization have difficulty kasi coping up with the work from home arrangement, with the virtual
Yes.
setup, no? So if hindi pa kaya yung formal assessment, informal feedbacking, no, because employees still needs to be sabi nga natin, 'di ba, parang we still have to make our people feel, no, that we're back in
Still,
the
yes, that we're still actually an office.
game, we're back in the game, there's still target, 'di ba, we have to achieve the targets, no? So
Kasi yun yung nawala because like I think na nagkagulo, okay, so people went on firefighting mode. Okay, so kasi I recall we went on firefighting mode kasi we were forced kami na payment processing facility. We said we were never going to go on work from home kasi our data was crucial. I mean, we cannot really, we cannot really take it out of the office. Pero we had to follow because importante yung safety ng tao.
correct. And okay lang naman na maging reactive kasi VUCA tayo 'di ba, in the
Mm.
VUCA world you cannot plan everything. Hindi katulad before, 'di ba? Things
Pag,
will happen January, February, March, but yeah, importante pa rin is there's a target, no? Because once we don't know what we're aiming, we will be wanderers. There will be no success.
I think it would be nice now. Okay, so I'm not sure what kasi iba-iba ang situation ng mga HR departments ng companies ngayon. So what we can actually for me, well, what was helpful is kasi we would as a team of executive, we
Yeah.
were actually meeting parang every 2 weeks, okay? So that kasi that monthly lang, naging every 2 weeks. And then HR would have a plan every month kasi nagbabago eh.
Totoo naman. Actually, 'di ba, sabi mo nga 1 year ago where we are. 1 year ago, all HR people are up by 6 o'clock in the morning. Tama ba? Okay, and still up at 12 midnight, no? Because 12 midnight is the parang firming up of the plans for the 6 o'clock morning. Because
Mm.
tomorrow we discover, di ba parang today we discovered something about COVID, and tomorrow we will implementing a new policy, no, to make sure that our, di ba? So kaya sabi nga nung isa kong HR participant, no, is we were able to come up with policies in 2 hours.
What usually took like 2 months, 3 months, or ano kayo, challenge kayo in 2 hours. Okay.
Diba? But again, sabi nga natin dati, diba, we hate the word reactive.
Mm-hmm.
We like it because it meant that we are quick, no, to act on things, no. So we have to look at it on a positive perspective, no. So yes, it's evolving, it's evolving, and mabilis ngayon yung change, no, happening in the organization and even in the workplace, diba? So again, we also need to make sure, no, that we are building an agile culture, di ba?
So, Miss Vivian, for HRs, okay, do you think that, because there are a lot of questions going into me for day to day, and they kept asking, okay, HR professional, is it helpful if they get MBA degrees so that they can develop their strategic thinking skills?
Naku, I may be biased, ha?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, it's a blend of understanding the conceptual framework
Mm-hmm.
and capability to be creative, no, and implement or come up with different approaches that you think will work in the environment. So I always believe that learning conceptual framework is important, but experience, no, is also of equal or of higher importance. So mas leaning ako towards experience, no.
Mm-hmm.
So mas leaning ako towards sharing of insights, sharing of experiences, yung mga ganitong forum, no? I think I've shared that with you, no? Yan yung, kasi ang aking principles in terms of learning is you learn more when you learn more from other people because they already have experienced it. They will be free to share it with you, no? And you would be able to kind of like do an analogy if this will work in your organization. So um that I don't have issues with MBA, but it's really a matter of translating it into action. Let's not forget about it because even though we get a degree in MBA, but if we are not able to translate all of those conceptual learnings, no, into action, it will not make us an effective HR leader, no. But if you notice, there are people naman who are not master's degree holders, okay,
Mm-hmm.
have to talk to other people, to other HR professionals, no, and they're able to they became good and better or great leaders, no. So it's a combination of both, the way I look at it, no.
Well, if I'm going to answer kasi yan, it's going to be, I'm just going to say it's too late because the crisis is already happening. So to get the MBA would also investment of time.
Mm.
So
Ako,
if they're doing it to address their gap because of the crisis, it might not be a good solution.
yeah. Ako kasi, Chris, ang aking approach to learning is if I don't see value of a program
Yes.
to me, regardless pa kahit siguro very reputable school yung mag-offer, I will not entertain. Kasi I subscribe because I see value to me in terms of learning, in terms of uh, what it can do, no, in terms of my practice. So if it's just for the title, I think I shared that to you, no, it's not just about the title itself, no. So it's really more about what is the value that it can add to your personal and professional development, no, so that you would be successful in your advocacy, personal or professional. So we have to look at it that way. And
Yes.
ako, yun yung aking approach, eh. So and different people have different approach and different 'di ba, different concepts about learning. So but one thing is for sure, Chris, I love to read.
Oh, please. Actually, I think I share your passion for reading. So I think they
And
should develop the passion to, read and
Okay.
habit of reading a management book kasi it's
Correct.
cheaper.
Read, I love to do research, no?
Mm,
So yun yung mga subscription ko, if I can share, I subscribe to Conferry, to McKinsey, so that I would know what's happening not just in the Philippines but in other areas, and then I'm trying to understand how it would be translated, no, into the Philippine context. I was fortunate to be part of multinational organizations. They're subscribing to what we call before CEB, now Gartner, no? So they produce a lot of researches, no, na pag binabasa ko until now yung mga subscription ko, I would see that it's still relevant, very
mm,
relevant, no? And sometimes the parang first time I read it, I cannot see the relevance. Then biglang last year nakita ko parang ito yung dapat na approach, no? This should have been the approach that most HR professional, or even not just HR professional, business leaders, no, should be looking into. Then yun yung parang ina-apply ko, no? So yan, I love to read. And I love to read. I love to join forum like this, no? I love to share insights, no? Sometimes I just listen because that would mean that I'm trying to understand, listen better, no? So I'm not confining myself that because I'm HR, so I'll just focus on the HR literatures. Yan. Gusto ko rin yung mga ibang literatures, no, na hindi HR. So even though I'm not techie, like yours are techie. So even though I'm not techie, I do have an understanding of how it works, no? Because yun nga, I love to, yun yung mga passion.
so we have to, kasi pag during kasi, a lot of things kasi have been happening. So there is actually parang an observation. Bakit yung HR ginagawa lahat? Kasi pinalapitan siya ng tao, so wala siyang choice, kundi mag-aral din. So that,
Aralin.
'di ba? Kasi you have to give informed, you have to be informed so that the advice that you give, hindi naman basta lang you just parang trip mo lang sabihin, but it was also well researched.
Correct. So yes. So yeah, but ako nga 'di ba parang I always look at it. The framework is still the same, no? It's
Mm,
how we apply and how we make it work, no, to our respective organization. And sometimes sabi ko nga, we try to overthink
mm,
the solutions, no, or the things that we need to do to drive employee experience is actually the simple things, no, that we do in managing our employees. The way we speak to them, the way we show our care to them, no, the way we communicate, the way we catch up with them during the pandemic kasi hindi sila nakakapasok, no, the way we try to suggest to them what can be done while at home. So these are not expensive, okay, but this drive employee experience, no. So employee experience is not the grandiose of things. It's not about the sophistication of the organization, but it's about, okay, the impact of what the employee see, okay, what the employee feel, no, and what is their experience, or how do they find working with our organization. That really matters, no? Kaya before we look into the grandiose things, let's look into the simple ways, no, that is very impactful. 'Di ba sabi nga natin, best rewards and recognition is not the financial rewards. It's what?
mm.
On the back, di ba? It's the thank you. It's the show of appreciation to our people that they did well and they were able to contribute to the organization. So the context about employee experience, the what's in it for me. What's in it for me has changed. What's in it for me is not all about financial. Okay? It also talks about the intrinsic, okay, reward or appreciation that we can show to our people. Diba? The care, how do we care about our people? So those are the drivers now of employee experience, no? So yan. So kaya yun. Something siguro one thing then that I would like to share, no, is to go for the um yung ano ba Chris, yung parang maging part 'yon ng routine ng
Mm.
organization, 'di ba? Yung appreciation, yung how are you, the concept of kukumustahin mo yung employees mo, how they're doing, how they're coping, di ba? Sending positive energy to the employees, no? Important is consistency. If we are consistent, yan, it would be visible. Di ba? Kasi
Yes.
consistent tayo. If we are consistent, it would be felt. Di ba? If we are consistent, they would feel the experience that we are trying to drive. No? So that's and by the way, employee experience is driven by customer experience. So the concept is about if we would like to deliver superior customer experience, therefore our employees should also feel a superior experience so that they can deliver, okay, that kind of experience to their customers. So that's the impact now, no? Yan. So kaya yon, i-embed natin sana yon sa ating mga DNA, no? Dun sa ating mga, yun yung routine na hindi nakakasawang gawin.
Kasi yung ano natin, we actually model, parang there's like, when the terms become sophisticated, doon
Yes.
siya nagiging confusing. But
Yes.
actually, what HR is to employee, so we're talking about employee experience. So tayo yung internal customer service. Isipin nyo na lang yon.
Yes. Yes. Tayo yung marketing, tayong corporate comms.
So, actually, yung ano lang, yung sales and marketing is actually outward. Okay? Eh, kailangan ng mga tao, yung inward na management, yun, yung mga customer experience, yung communication, and etc. So, I think that's a simpler way of looking at parang HR management. It's actually the modern way. Kasi yung traditional way, parang nasa desk ka lang, and then you just uh, to payroll, diba? SSS, pag-ibig. Although, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, that's the backbone eh.
Yes, it's needed by the business, diba? Those are the HR activities that we cannot do without, diba? But there's still more that we can do, no? So, and in fact, even for example, the simple processing, o sabi nyo, simple processing, minsan nakakaumay or nakakasawa na yung payroll processing, di ba? But when we accurately compute for the pay of our employees, di ba? When we timely remit their remittances, if they're able to claim immediately their mga loans and benefit assistance, no, from the respective government agencies, or yung sabi ko nga, di ba, without employees knowing, si company na yung nag-a-apply ng kanilang ng mga what we call it before SWS subsidy, di ba? So already component of employee experience. So even if it's part of like what we call HR administration function, the way we do it will create, no, or will have impact in terms of employee experience. So kaya siguro parang ang thought natin is sa lahat ng ginagawa natin, isipin natin yung how can I create a different kind of experience to our employees so that they would feel better.
You'll feel better. Okay. And, this is a takeaway. I have like a lot of, I actually went through, this age, okay. I went through several companies already. They remember yung past employees, your former employees will remember, okay, this kind of experience with you or as a leader, okay, what you have been trying to do within the company. So that's a takeaway.
Correct, di ba? Because that's kind of experience that you would like to live, no? So, di ba? So, yeah, let's make yung everyday employee experience positive.
Okay. So, anyway, we have Miss Vivian. Okay, so I guess siguro these people just settled in, okay? But may I request you to flash yung last of the slide, okay, just to summarize the 8 R's of HR.
Sure. Okay, wait lang ha.
So for the benefit of those who just are watching now, okay, so Miss Vivian presented the 8 hours of HR. Okay, so this is it. Okay, And then to catch Miss Vivian's presentation, okay, we will be uploading this on our YouTube channel. Okay, and then you can actually watch the full replay, okay, in that archive. Okay, so Miss Vivian, going back to you. So in the coming days, okay, so what will you be busy with?
Okay. So can I stop sharing already, or do you want me
Sure.
to? Oh,
I think they we already flashed it, okay, so they are now aware of 8 hours of HR.
of course, as both of us are member of the community, so of course this coming weeks, no, so I still am part of the CPHR community. So I do train HR professionals who would like to pursue their passion in HR. So I call it a community because most of the it's really more about refreshing yourself in the HR practice by sharing insights and experience from your peers. So I do facilitate it, and I also launched what we call the HR Caravan. No, so this really our aim really is to help out the HR professionals in terms of how to pursue their career if they're interested in the HR field, and what are the things, no, that they can learn. So for our first series of the Caravan, we introduce competency profiling. So if you look at competency profiling, integrative din yung approach na ginagawa namin, wherein we try to introduce the framework of competency profiling and how it will help you in terms of your recruitment, learning and development, and even in terms of your compensation. And we already have completed the talent acquisition component, and we would be rolling out the learning and development competency-based system, no, next week. And I think the other week would be the okay compensation based competency system, no. So most of my um learning programs are
Mhm.
geared towards HR, as you see it, no. And so because that's part of the advocacy, of course you can also see me in HR shouts and whispers from time to time, no, with Chris and Ken. And there are also some consultants, no, who I attend their sessions kasi sabi ko nga sa'yo, I like sharing, I like listening, I like insights, no. So I hope you also watch out for the live stream, which will also be featured, no, by via YouTube by another consultant who's more onto business consultancy. So I will be Mr. Myron Santa Ana's guest on March 22. So you may want to check on his Facebook page. So we will be the one naman doing some conversation, no,
Mhm.
about HR and leadership, no. And yeah, so I do have those those are my engagements, my conversations.
Actually, kasi we have to, alam mo, actually, we actually have been inviting a lot of experts. And actually, I said it's regardless of affinity because
Yes,
we actually want to also, this is our way of helping, okay, the
yes.
HR professionals.
Yeah,
Also, non-HR professionals, because when they understand the process, they're not so antagonistic.
yes. So it's an advocacy, because I find my HR career very rewarding, fruitful and insightful, no. And whatever I've learned from HR, no matter how small it is, I would like to share it, no, so that the young HR professionals, no, hopefully will not commit the same mistakes that we did in the past. We don't know how to do it. So the hard way, no? So now I know they are smarter than us, and with our failures, they will be smart. They will be at their smartest, no, when they become HR practitioners. So yes, this is part of my my advocacy in the HR field, no. So yeah, sabi nga ng husband ko, excited na excited ka pag nai-invite ka sa mga talks, no. Sabi ko, sabi
Alam
ko,
mo kasi, actually, for HR, for the graduating HR professionals, okay, you have to learn from our mistake. Kasi ano yan eh, ongoing process yan, and things evolve, okay? So, Kasi we're actually, ang ginagawa natin, we want to be more, globalized kasi. So yung standard yung global standards yung kailangan natin ma-achieve.
Correct. And I think I've shared this to peers, no, that I was one of those fortunate HR professional given opportunity to manage other HR professionals of different nationalities, no. And I could say that the Filipino HR professionals really are at par, world class talaga, no. We are very creative, we are very dynamic, we are adaptive, no, and we are capable of customizing, even if it's like a global practice, a global companies or our headquarters will tell us we have to do this, we still are able to adapt and sabi nga natin is customize it, no, based on the local requirement. Where the Filipino HR professionals are very good at that, no. Yon, last pahabol na lang, Chris, baka magalit sa akin ang CPHR group. So there will be that I would be part of the third Philippine HR Assembly, which will happen in May. So please watch out for that as well. Yan. Baka magtampo sila eh.
Well, actually, speaking of CPHR, so with Circa Logica, so we have on Saturday, okay, March 20. So I think I will be having my own webinar with their HR professionals. Okay, so these are CPHR graduates, and this is about HR operations and budgeting. So, yeah, hindi yan magtatampo yung Circa Logica CPHR sa atin.
And of course, thank you for inviting me again. No? So it's always been parang a stress reliever talking to you.
Well, thank you. Okay. Kasi we have been doing this, okay, it's a series of back to basics webinars, okay, about HR management. So that this is our way kasi of trying to prevent, okay, the stress that actually happens. So, yeah, we actually hindi naman sa binabalikan natin yung last, but kasi given that, okay, things are off the same, parang it's actually similar in terms of that.
Yes,
But actually, ang is natin is at least we're given a chance to have take two so we can do things better.
correct. Tama. And we can parang the application can also be different because of the circumstance we are in right now. So it would be good to know how to apply it in this new context, no?
So what they can do, okay, so balikan nila, okay, so just have a reflection of what happened, okay, and then maybe you wanted it to be less, okay, yung less magulo, less confusing. So I think that's like a fresh start, okay, for everyone. So yeah, and I think that could be a good contribution already for your organizations. Anyway, Miss Vivian, it's also a stress reliever talking to you. And magkikita na lang tayo sa CPHR, hopefully soon.
And thank you again. Thank you for inviting me, and hope your viewers and your followers are able to get something out of our conversation, no? Yan.
So anyway, extend my regards to Myron. Okay, and let's call it a night.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
okay, bye-bye.
Bye.